All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, Ship It Nation YouTube station? We are back with another edition of the NBA show. It's the first one of the week. We've had some NBA Cup games throughout the week, had some 2-gamers, had some 3-gamers as well. But it's Friday. It's time to get that money. It is 6 games on the main slate on DraftKings. Rio, I'll bring you in right away. How's your week going? What's been going on, man?
Week's going well. It's been a little weird not being on these shows on Tuesday, Wednesdays this week. I kind of had a lot of free time, which is a rarity at this time of year, but was able to get on a good routine with the gym and the downtime that we had with there being later games and then also weird start times. We had a game the start time at like 6 p.m. Eastern the other night, and then last night was at 5 p.m. So it's been kind of weird like navigating around that. But yeah, been a pretty good week, very productive. So I'm looking forward to talking some hoops with you today, and then I got the Saber series show a little bit later tonight with Sheets after NBA locks.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And we talked about a little bit pre-show. Congrats on your shipper the other night. You and Title shipped $20K. Wish it was more, but hey, anytime you can get a shipper, that's always good. Let's say hello to some people in the chat. We got Go Collect as always. BG Little Neck, my man Newens is in here. Mighty Saints, a new name, so welcome in. Parabay, Gangrene, Trisket. What's going on, Trisket? How you doing? Ricky Rose, nice to see you again. And then my guy William, nice to see you. William, what's going on, fam? How you doing in there? Like I said, we got 6 games on the slate. We got a few injuries to talk about. We'll talk about them as we get there. We're going to go game by game as we always do. I got the first game pulled up on the stone. It's over there on our site. We got the Chicago Bulls going into Charlotte to take on these Hornets. Some injuries to talk about in this one. Obviously, you know the guys on Charlotte that are going to be out. They've been out. Ball, Sexton, my guy Grant Williams, man. They're all going to be out. And then the Bulls do get some guys back tonight, but mainly Ayo and Horter are still out for the Bulls. But everybody else looks probable. Kobe White looks like he's going to play. Jones, Okoro, Zach Collins. I think they're all in, Rio, but if I missed anything there, let me know. But if not, talk to me a little bit about this game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair with these two teams. We know the Bulls like to get up and down, but the total is only 229, which is not super low, but not super high either. But you got the Bulls 2.5 favorite headed into Charlotte.
Yeah, I think you hit on all the injury stuff. The Hornets do get Josh Green back. I believe this is his second game back, just to kind of make things a little bit deeper with their rotation and getting a little bit more. This would be his first game back actually this season, so that'll add some defense to them. And then with Isaac Okoro getting back, I think that's kind of big for the Bulls defensively. They've been really, really bad as of late. One of the worst teams over the last month or so. 6th worst defense, 6th worst rebounding team in the league. They're allowing the 2nd most putback points per game and the most blocks per game. So really good spot for some of the bigs on the Hornets side. I don't think that Okoro changes too much. I think that if anything, it will help some of their on-ball defense. But I feel like the things kind of are systemic for the Bulls on defense right now, how bad they've been. I think it starts with coaching. I don't know if Billy Donovan is the right guy or if this is just a bad personnel grouping. Been a lot of talk about some trades with like Kuminga and Sabonis, which is just, I don't really know what they're planning to do over there, but this is still a team I definitely want to attack. Their rim defense is awful. They don't really have any great on-ball defenders outside of Isaac Okoro, and even he, I would say, is maybe just slightly above average. So it is a good spot for these Hornets guys, and then you get a ton of value with LaMelo, Trayman, and Con Sexton all out. They basically are down to one true point guard on the roster in KJ Simpson. But all the ball handling is going to be pretty split down the middle between 4 guys because you kind of have a lot of guys that do similar things between Knipple, Miller, and Bridges in terms of usage and touch times and stuff like that. It's been Bridges, I think, in this situation, the guy that you want to get the most of. He's shown the most minutes upside, but also peripheral stats have been really good for him. He's had the best role of all the starters for the Hornets. He has a 40% assist percentage, 12.5 rebounding rate, 4.3 minutes of touch time, which are second in touch time behind KJ Simpson. I think he's second in usage at 29% behind Brandon Miller. So he's going to be the guy I'm prioritizing on the Hornets side for sure. Great matchup for him. I don't really worry too much about whoever they throw at him. I think it'll be Matas Buzelis on him, which is definitely a good spot to attack. And then as a guy that can get to the basket at ease here versus Vucevic, I think that he's got a lot of upside in this matchup. So I love Bridges tonight. I think he's one of the better overall plays on the entire slate at 7.5K. But then you get down to how you want to play like the Miller, Knipple, and KJ Simpson grouping, because I don't know if I really want to play 3 of these 4 guys. I feel like I'm more comfortable going to 2 of them, and I think that will kind of lead you onto a lot of the same type of builds with KJ Simpson as your value piece and then spending up for Bridges. So that could mean that Miller and Knipple get a little bit overlooked. I wish that the ownership was a little bit lower on Knipple because I think that his permanent upside is better than Brandon Miller's just because he does a little bit more and he's been way more efficient shooting the ball this season. But they're projecting for very similar ownership, so I don't really think you're getting too much leverage there as they're only $100 price away from each other. So with that being said, I do think that I'll side with Miller with knowing that the ownership is going to be similar just because he's had such a massive usage role, taking a ton of shots, not shooting the ball very well right now, but I think this is a pretty good bounce back spot for him against Chicago. So I will lean him. But like I said, I think I want to max out 2 of those 4 guys. And then it's a great spot for the centers, Moussa Diabate and Kalkbrenner. Going to be splitting down the middle. I think Kalkbrenner sees a little bit more minutes, but there's not really enough for them to be smash plays. I do think that you could get a pretty efficient night from one of these guys. I would obviously lean Kalkbrenner because he's going to be playing more minutes. But I'm not really going out of my way to play him. I think I'll sprinkle some of him because I do think there is a scenario where he hits his upside in a pretty decently big way. So I'm cool with those guys, but obviously max one of the centers. The Bulls side, kind of easy for me to break down. I think it's just Giddey or pass. Vooch just hasn't shown the upside. You get way better value spinning down. Like I'd rather play Kalkbrenner over Vooch if I'm playing somebody at center in this game. Jock Landale, who we'll talk about later, is a much better value play. So I don't really think you want to get to Vooch on this slate. I think Kobe White should be closer to full, so I think he's fine at 6.9K, really good usage numbers. I'm not really prioritizing anything from Chicago because Charlotte's been okay defensively. They're kind of like below average in mainly everything. I think that Giddey obviously is the best from an upside standpoint. They don't really have the same on-ball defenders that could slow him down. So I do think Giddey's pretty solid here. He did okay in the first matchup, was 1 assist away from a triple-double in that game. So he's obviously got the upside, but I think there's going to be some better spend-up options or just better overall point-per-dollar plays at the guards positions tonight. So not really prioritizing much in this on the Bulls side. I think Matas Buzelis is fine to keep in play. But everything else is just kind of, I don't know, you're getting a lot of guys back, and Kobe White is a high-usage guy, so it's going to make it a little bit tougher to get really big ceiling games from the Chicago Bulls side. So I'm okay getting away from it. I think the Charlotte side is pretty straightforward, though. You're definitely going to get to some pieces on that side.
Yeah, looking at the projections over here at the Nation, Hornets look very nice, and Giddey's always in play for triple-double, so I like what you said about that. Let's move on to the next game. Should be another interesting game. We got the Hawks. We got the Pistons. This is the Hawks' first game of the week. We got my boy Jalen Michael Jordan at 10-6. Jalen Johnson, that is, coming up just back-to-back, just monster games. If you thought it was a fluke on Friday night, he said, no, I'm going to do it again on Saturday night. Went back-to-back triple-doubles. Just absolutely obliterated the slate, 70 pieces in both games. He's been playing very well. Okongwu for the Hawks. Been playing better as of late. His last game, he had a very good game as well. Then you got the Pistons. Cade Cunningham, we know what he can do. Asar Thompson. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Still no Trae Young. Still no Porzingis. It is a 7.5-point spread. Any love for any of these Hawks? Any love for anybody on the Pistons? You're on mute.
Thank you. That was the first time all year, I think. Not super excited about this game. I think that these are 2 pretty solid defensive teams that can take away some of the strengths from the opposing teams. The Hawks have been really good at taking away pick and roll, and Cade hasn't really shown great upside in this matchup, so I don't really think that you need to go out of your way to spend up for him at 10.8K because you need 60 plus, like to even be like viable at his price, but you really want like 70 at his price tag, which he hasn't done very often this season. So I'd be okay not really getting to too much on the Pistons side. I feel like Duren should have a pretty good matchup. Obviously, he's a beast, and Okongwu I don't think is a great defender. No Kristaps Porzingis actually makes the Hawks defense a little bit better just from a defensive rating standpoint, but I do think that Porzingis is a much better rim protector than Okongwu is. A little bit undersized at the center position, so I'm fine with Duren. He's got really good upside even in limited minutes. And then I think like Asar and Tobias are just fine as last man in type plays at their prices. But Detroit's running things pretty deep right now. They have a very deep team, and this is as healthy as they've been the whole season. So nobody is really a standout option. The Atlanta side, it's pretty much Jalen Johnson or bust. I think you can make the case for Okongwu and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but the prices are getting up there for all these guys, really. But the role has been really good for Jalen Johnson, and it is going to be a tough matchup. Asar Thompson does foul a ton. Jalen Johnson is going to be looked to get into the basket, so he could get him into foul trouble pretty quickly, which I don't really know who they would replace him with. I think they might want to bring in like Isaiah Stewart because he's a pretty big body they can throw on Jalen Johnson. But the role and just all the numbers with Trey and Porzingis off the court this season suggest that he's a guy that can put up a triple-double in any single matchup every time he steps on the court. 28.5% usage rate, 37% assist percentage, 17% rebounding rate with those two guys off the court this season. So you can, if you got 10.6K for a power forward, I think that obviously Jalen Johnson is going to be your guy. I do think power forward is really strong tonight, though. We'll talk about some of these guys later, but Miles Bridges is 3K cheaper than Jalen Johnson with a similar role in terms of, not having LaMelo, Sexton, and Trey Mann out there to take away some of the usage and touches. But obviously Jalen Johnson's got his role solidified, and he has shown 70-plus DK point upside multiple times this season. So totally fine with him, but I do think that power forward, the strength of the position is really good tonight. So I'm not prioritizing anything from this game in particular, and definitely not prioritizing Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, and I think the ownership will tell you that as well. We currently have, the ownership around 15% on Jalen Johnson. At 10-6, that's a lot of money. Yeah, shout out to my boy Newens. Newens crushed it last week, and then laid the receipts back in the Discord Sunday morning, talking about all the plays. Another great member of the community. Congratulations to Newens over there.
Got a shout out, guy. Appreciate that. The kind words, Mac. I don't know. Hopefully, I would say subscribe and put the notifications on. We'd definitely love to have you in here. Appreciate the kind words for sure.
Heck yeah, we got my guy Rio, we got my guy Bellman in here doing their thing. Two of the best in the industry. That's absolutely for sure. Yeah,
Jalen got Hamwish too.
No, nowhere near you two guys, but yeah, no, appreciate it. Jalen Johnson, I love Jalen Johnson tonight. I know he's pricey, but man, he's been crushing. But you're saying the Pistons defensively, you think you can shut him down a little bit?
I mean, yeah, like technically they can because this is one of the best defensive units in the entire team. But I mean, the role is like it's elite. Like he's definitely worth the price tag.
Awesome stuff there. Let's move on to the next game. Got another low total, 224. Got another 7.5-point favorite. Looks like Joel Embiid is going to be playing tonight. Tyrese Maxey, I guess, is the biggest news. I think he got a midday downgrade, Rio, to questionable, if I'm not mistaken.
Just double checking because he was probable the last time I saw it, and then I see him questionable. I don't know if they've actually put in their injury report. He is questionable. Believe he missed shoot around as well.
Yeah. So I don't know, that makes me think he's going to miss. So let's talk about obviously if he's in and if he's out, who does that benefit from the point guard position? We got PG-13. Looks like he's going to be playing, but Oubre's out for the Sixers. Obviously, Nesmith's been out for quite some time. Former Belmont legend Ben Shepherd is out tonight for the Pacers. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk about the Pacers' best player, Rio, because you know who that is. But talk to me about anybody else on these Sixers and or these Pacers.
I don't know who you're referring to. Is it Siakam?
Nope. He's $3,200.
Their best player is $3,200.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Gary Bird, Gary the GOAT, baby. Let's go. I'm not going to talk about him, but go ahead. Pacers at the Sixers.
I think he might have signed for the season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he signed a standard contract.
Yeah, if the Pacers want to win, they know what's up, man.
Yeah, I'm just looking through some of this Philly news because it does seem like Maxey would be more on the doubtful side of things. Just usually if you miss shoot around with an illness, good chance that you're probably going to miss the game. That would likely would put Quentin Grimes into the starting lineup, and he'd be a really, really good value play at 6.2K. But I would just say that the Pacers have been playing a lot better on defense. I think a lot of that due to guys like just buying in. Nembhard has always been a really good guard defender. I think Mathurin is pretty solid as well. I don't really like Ben Shepherd as a player, but he is a pretty solid defender as well. And then you got this Ethan Thompson kid. He's pretty solid. Ben Shepherd's been out for a little bit, but it seems Ethan Thompson kid looks like he's decent. Siakam's pretty solid. And then Jay Huff, much better than what they were running out there with an undersized and skinny Isaiah Jackson. Then you got guys like Tony Bradley mixing. So it's definitely a better team than the record would show, which kind of is reflected by the game total. It's pretty low in this one, but I do think that there are some options in this game. Sixers are definitely a team that I want to attack, especially with Embiid in the lineup. I think it makes their defense a whole lot worse because he's kind of like, like Brook Lopez towards the end of his career in some ways, where he's just not the same rim protector that he was in years past, and he's definitely not moving around like he was when he was younger. So their pick and roll defense has been really, really bad with Embiid on the court this season, which gets me on to my favorite play in this game for sure on the Pacers side. But I think that this guy is going to be a really sharp pivot from some chalkier plays in the later games, and that would be Andrew Nembhard at 6.6K, coming off of a huge game. So I'm not saying that it's chasing to go to him after putting up 56 DK points, but he's had a really, really good role. All the potential assists and touch time stats are really in line with somebody that should be priced at this price tag. And then you take away the matchup with Tyrese Maxey, where he would have been chasing him around all game. I think it's much better to throw him on a Quentin Grimes or McCain or whoever it's going to be and kind of save some of his effort for offense. But I think it's a really good spot for Andrew Nembhard tonight. He's averaging over 7 points per game in pick and roll. Sixers are the third worst pick and roll defense this season. And over the last 7 games or so, Sixers are allowing the second most fantasy points to opposing point guards. So there's a lot really trending in the right direction for Nembhard. I think that he's a extremely good pivot off of Darius Garland, who's looking like he's going to be 4 times as high owned as Nembhard. So I love that call out on him. And then that's kind of it. Siakam at 9.1K, not going to go there. I think it's more matchup dependent. Nothing really stands out here. If they were playing the Bulls, I would have interest in him, but they're playing the Sixers, so I'm not super interested there. I think Mathurin is fine. There is a little bit of upside for him at 7.2K against a team that is slow and old and struggles to get back in transition, but that's going to be about it for me. I really like Nembhard tonight on the Indy side. And then with Maxey out, like I said, I think it would be Grimes starting. That would make Embiid, Grimes, Paul George all look a lot better. Edgecombe would get a lot better. He's off of his minutes limit, played 38 minutes last game. I wouldn't want to play Edgecombe into any sort of ownership just because even with Maxey out, it's going to be a lot of Embiid and Paul George. And then even Quentin Grimes is a guy that can use up possessions. So he would just be probably the 4th option on offense. The only way that he could really kind of negate the negatives that you have with him losing usage to guys like Embiid is that he is capable of playing upper 30s minutes. I think he probably lands at like 36 tonight on the high end, which is fine for his price tag, but that might put Nembhard on him if Maxey were to be out. So I'm not super excited about Edgecombe, but I think Joel Embiid, after seeing him play 30 minutes last game, he just had 4 or 5 days off. So he's probably playing 30 again tonight. Obviously, Joel Embiid's still a really good point per minute producer at this point of his career. And then you have to add in the fact that if Maxey were to miss, he probably is the guy who the offense is running through. Not too worried about the matchup versus Jay Huff. Pacers still are a really bad rim defense. I think there's a lot trending in the right direction for Embiid. And then Grimes and Paul George. I like Paul George regardless, but with Maxey out, I feel like he'd be a lot tougher to get away from at 6.1K because he has shown pretty solid per minute production this season even while playing alongside Maxey and Embiid, and then you take away Maxey, he's going to be really tough for me to get away from. So, yeah, a lot to like on the Philly side, but I think Nembhard is the guy I'm going to be pretty heavy on tonight in this game.
Yeah. Did you touch on McCain? I've seen a couple people in the chat asking about McCain if Maxey misses at only 4,100. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think you said McCain. So no love for McCain?
No, I definitely would. I don't think he's going to start, though, and I feel like people they're probably expecting him to start as like directly slotting in behind Maxey, but it would be Quinn Grimes. I'm almost certain. You'd have to figure out the groupings, like how would you play McCain? I think they talked about his the minutes restriction coming off of him, pretty soon. So 26 from him would be really good at his price tag, but I probably would be careful playing him with like Edgecombe or Grimes.
Last question: Where does Embiid rank? Like, if you were just ranking the centers, where would you put him on the slate? Assuming Maxey's out, let's say. Obviously, I think he gets a lot more shots with Maxey out, but Maxey sits. Where do you rank Embiid?
I mean, even if Maxey were to be in, like he's a top 3 center on the slate. I would say even probably the second best because you can play Mobley and Santi at power forward and forward. So I would say just like guys that only have center eligibility, he'd probably be second behind Jock, and then he would probably be first if Maxey were to miss.
Got it. Great stuff there. And before we go any further, I got to say what's up to my guy, BJ. BJ, I just unregistered in the FanDuel streets, man. If you're in there, I'm out. Hope you're doing well, my brother. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, appreciate everybody tuning in. We're halfway home. Make sure you're hitting that like. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate you tuning in each and every Friday during this National Basketball Association season. Next game up on the slate, we got the Cavs. They've been struggling as of late, but they are slated to score 130 points. The Wizards missing pretty much everybody that's worth a darn over there in the nation's capital. 245.5 point total, but we also have a 14.5 point spread, Rio. So Darius Garland looks good to me. Your boy Donovan Mitchell always looking good. You mentioned Mobley a minute ago, but talk to me about this game. Who's your favorite Cav? Anybody on the Wizards that you like? I know we got some injuries over there. Still no Sarr. Still no Koulibaly. Still no Middleton. We know Kisper's been out with a wrist for quite some time. Then no Jared Allen. No Max Strus still for the Cavs. But Cavs at Washington.
Yeah, before I talk about this game, I did want to say what's up to BJ too. Miss talking hoops to you, man. Hope that everything's going well with you. Hopefully the football and basketball season has been treating you well. Yeah, great spot for Cleveland here. Kind of a bounce back spot, I would say, just from a season standpoint. The Cavs have been pretty underwhelming, just in comparison to what we saw from them last year. They were one of the better offenses in the league. I think a lot of that, they don't have a lot of their off-ball scoring that they had earlier in the season and last season with Sam Merrill out, and then Max Strus been injured for a while. So I think once they get these guys back and healthy, they'll turn things around, but they're not a scary team by any means in the East. So I think that Washington can hang around. I like Washington better when they have guys like Middleton and CJ McCollum and Alex Sarge because they can keep games a little bit closer. But with that being said, this Cleveland stuff is really hard to overlook because it's just such a good matchup for basically everybody, but mainly the Mobley, Mitchell, and Garland grouping. Just Washington's getting beat all over the court. Their transition defense is terrible. On-ball defense got a whole lot worse with no Bilal Coulibaly now. And the rim defense is always going to be a struggle, especially with no Alex Sarr out there. Ranking these guys, I have it Mobley number 1 over Mitchell, mainly because he's cheaper, but also his offensive rating numbers and just offensive production gets a lot better in the minutes that he shares with Darius Garland. He's kind of been closely correlated with him positively over the course of their careers. So getting Garland back and healthy after playing 32 minutes, I believe, the last game, couple of days off in between games, I really like Evan Mobley here. Going to be playing center tonight, which is also a plus for him from a rebounding standpoint with no Jared Allen out there. And it's just an elite matchup for opposing bigs against this Washington front court. With him having power forward eligibility, it makes him one of the best overall plays in the entire slate. And I'm usually the anti-Evan Mobley guy, but I do think that he's a lot better with Darius Garland out there. So I'm going to be really heavy on Evan Mobley tonight. Definitely a potential core play. If I can make things work, I really want to come away with my lineups with at least two of actually probably at least three of Mobley, Bridges, Santi, and Anthony Davis. We'll talk about a little bit later, but I think that power forward just really strong tonight. Evan Mobley is one of the top options, so love him tonight. I think Donovan Mitchell, obviously still really good, 9.8K, really good price tag for him. He put up 49 DK points in just 26 minutes against Washington the last time out. With Garland getting a little bit healthier, that does slightly impact him negatively. He's still going to be the focal point on offense, but the per minute numbers are a lot worse while sharing the court with Garland, down to 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I do think the matchup is great, so it's like I don't really want to overlook that, but I do think that you can get similar point per dollar production from other spots at guard tonight. And Darius Garland, I think, is a guy that you could look to at 6.4K. So I lean Mobley over Mitchell. Totally fine with Mitchell. If you need a 9.8K shooting guard, he's clearly the best option, I would say, at the entire position. Between like him and Knipple and Cedric Howard, I think are the guys that look really good from a value standpoint. But I do lean Mobley here. And then I think Darius Garland also at 6.4K, really good. Nice seeing him get up to 32 minutes last game, but he's just been extremely inefficient shooting the ball this season. I would probably want to be max one of Mitchell and Mobley, and then probably max one of Garland and Mitchell. I think that in the big games that Donovan Mitchell has, it's probably taken away from other people, definitely taken away from guys that are scoring the ball. But I'd be okay having two of Mobley and Garland together. I think that, like I said, they do positively correlate, so I'm fine with that. I think that's it for Cleveland. I think Tyson is fine at 6.1K, should play a good amount of minutes, but I think that's probably going to be where I cut things off for Cleveland. And then on the Washington side, they should have some pretty solid value pieces. I think the two guys I'm really looking at are Bub Carrington and Justin Champagnie. Bub, honestly, a really poor point per minute guy, but he does have games where he can spike for big stat lines just because he can. Like, he's a decent rebounder for his size, a pretty solid passer when he gets to his spots and is looking to facilitate more. But he played 37 minutes last game. And I think that they're going to need him out there for a lot again tonight because he is a solid defender. You have two really good guards on the other side with no Koulibaly. I think that is definitely a plus for Bub Carrington. So I think he's really good at 4.5K. You can use him with KJ Simpson or even as a pivot off of KJ. I think that's totally fine. But I like Justin Champagnie a lot here as well. If I knew that Champagnie was playing close to 30 minutes tonight, that'd be a guy that's like almost a lock candidate for me because his point per minute rates are really, really good in the relatively small sample with all these guys out. He's at 1.12 fantasy points per minute, and he actually leads the team in rebounding rates. And it's kind of a thing with both the Champagnie brothers. Like, they're both really – Anthony Edwards is out for anybody playing FanDuel or Showdown. But both the Champagnie brothers are really, really good rebounders for their position. So I think that Champagnie is pretty good here, and I think that they're going to need his wing defense as well in the spot. So I like him the most as the best value play in this game on the Washington side. And then, like, Keyshawn George and Bagley and CJ, I don't think you need to prioritize those guys. I feel like if you're playing Keyshawn or CJ McCollum, it's probably in the game script where the game is staying close. Cleveland is going to be scoring the ball. So in that scenario, you're probably assuming Washington keeps it close by being efficient on offense and the offense going through those two guys. So I think if you're playing Keyshawn George or CJ, I would pair it up with one of those three main guys on the Cleveland side is how I'm looking at it. And then max one, Bagley and Vukcevic as well. I think that's probably it. I don't really know if Trey Johnson back really impacts enough for me to want to play him or for me to get off of guys. I just think that he probably takes whatever minutes would go to like a Jameer Watkins or Cam Whitmore. I think that covers it all.
Cam Whitmore in the doghouse there in Washington. You said Champagnie 30 minutes, he's a lock. What about at 26 minutes? We currently haven't projected 26 minutes. Like, is that still good? I mean, that's obviously good enough to play, but how risky are you getting with him playing 26 minutes?
I would probably get him a little bit over the field, like probably 40 to 50% of my lineups. I would say have him if he was getting 26 minutes.
Yeah,
I think that sounds right.
You and Newens are alive tonight, Rio. So we're gonna have to get that in the two shippers tonight. Question for you going back. My guy Jose wants to know Cunningham or Giddey. It's Cunningham for me, but interested to hear what you have to say.
I mean, the prices are pretty far off. Like it's 1,000 away from each other, so I don't really think it's a 1,200 price difference. So it's not really a 1v1. It's more so about what spending up for Cade and down for somebody else does for your lineup. They're both, I mean, they're pretty even from like a points per dollar standpoint. I don't really have a strong take. I guess I would go with Giddey, just because if that allows me to spend up elsewhere, I'd prefer that.
Yeah, good stuff. I didn't realize it was $1,200 is kind of it's almost two different types of players there. Moving on to the next game, we got Ja back in action. Won't be confronting Denny, whatever Denny's Avdija's last name, however you say his last name tonight. But we got the Jazz, your Utah Jazz, going in to take on the Grizzlies. Should be an up and down game.
Your Memphis Grizzlies,
huh?
Your Memphis Grizzlies.
My Memphis Grizzlies, yes. Ham versus Rio tonight, but 241 point total with Ja back. You talking about Jock earlier. He's going to be super popular on this slate. Zach Edey, in case you don't know, I think he's out for 4 weeks, I think is what it is. But talk to me about this game. I'm interested in it. Jazz at the Grizzlies with our boy Keontae George, just been having a pretty good season.
Yeah, I feel like if there was a game that you could get 4 pieces of and really stack it up, it would be this one. Ja returning does kind of shake things up a little bit for Memphis, but not too much, because I don't think you're really considering him, and I definitely am not confident that Jaren Jackson Jr. is even good anymore, so I probably would not be considering him. But the value is coming from Santi and Jock Lando, so it's pretty easy to get 2 Memphis guys. And then I also really like Cedric Coward tonight at 5.4K because he's just a hooper. So I think it's pretty easy to get like at least 3, but I could see myself getting 4 pieces from this game in total. Both these teams are pretty bad defensively. I think that, Memphis has been playing really well. A lot of that was due to Zach Edey, though. When he was on the court, this team got a lot better on defense. The rim protection was really good, and just overall, they were a much better defensive unit. He's out for a month, and then you add in Ja, which I don't think Ja is a good defender either, and this was a team that really lacked on-ball defense earlier in the season. So adding Ja back, I think, makes this a really good spot for the Jazz offensively. And both teams kind of struggle with similar things. The Jazz have always been one of the worst three-point defenses in the league. And they also play fast. Memphis should play a lot faster with Edey out and Ja in. And the Jazz are allowing a ton of points in transition, the second most threes per game. And then Memphis is bottom 6 in three-point defense. So there's kind of 2 clear spots to attack. And then also the rim defense will get a lot worse for Memphis. So on the Utah side, I think there's a ton of scoring upside for both Lauri and Keontae tonight at 8K and 7.6K respectively. Lauri with, being one of the better catch and shoot guys in the league, one of the best three-point shooters in the league against a team that struggles to defend three-point defense. And he can also take guys off the dribble at times in a close matchup. 35 to 36 minutes from Lauri is within the range of outcomes, and even some potential for more, because they've been Will Hardy's really been tightening up the rotation or just kicking guys out of the rotation that are not performing. So I think Lauri does have a good bit of scoring upside here. He is competing with a lot of really strong power forward options. That's the only downside, because I do think that he's probably like 5th or 6th on my list of power forwards tonight. But I'd be fine with Keontae at 7.6K. He's had a really good season, really good role. All the numbers indicate that he's definitely worth the price tag. The touch time, role, potential assists, and drive stats have all been really good. And he is a guy that does play a lot more minutes in close games. Obviously, they won't throw him out there when it's a blowout, but he should play upper 30 minutes tonight in a close game. And then Nurkic should be better with no Edey out there, 5.8K. He is a guy that does have 40-plus point upside, so I'm okay going to him. I don't really think that we see a crazy spike in minutes because they are giving some of the backup center runs to Filipkowski, so kind of a, obviously a negative correlation there. I wouldn't play those guys together. I think Ace Bailey is fine at 4.6K as a really just like a correlated piece in this game. Should play lower 30 minutes, and it's a good matchup. The usage has not really been great for him. You're going to need a lot of scoring for him to pay off in a big way, which seems a little tougher to come by when you have to compete with Laurie and Keontae. So I'm not in love with Ace Bailey as an option tonight, but I think he's okay. And then a guy, if you really need a cheap guard option, not named Garrison Matthews, then Walter Clayton Jr. at 3.5K is a really good option. It seems like Isaiah Collier is in the doghouse, and Clayton Jr., a guy that they spent a first-round draft capital on last season, a guy that is really talented, can overlap with Keontae George a bit. I think that he's a pretty strong option at 3.5K, and he makes a lot of work in some of those builds. So I like him a good bit. And then, like I said, for the Memphis stuff, I'm prioritizing Santi and Jock. I think you can play them together. I would not play more than 2 of Jaren, Santi, and Jock. And then I guess it would probably be max 1 of Cam Spencer and John Morant. Jalen Wells is fine to keep in your player pool. He's mainly a catch-and-shoot guy, really good matchup for catch-and-shoot guys, and he's been pretty consistent, a couple of games in the 30s over the last 6 or 7 so games, but more likely than not ends up in the low 20s. And then I think Cedric Howard is a really, really good option at 5.4K.
Would you play Ja with Jock and Santi, or is that too many Grizzlies?
Ja with Santi and Jock? No, I think that's fine. I don't think that those guys negatively correlate. It's just with Ja returning from a calf injury, you're probably getting him capped at like 28 minutes, I would say, is like the high end, but I feel like he probably lands at like 25 to 26.
And then Ricky wants to know, I know you talked about Cedric's a hooper. Yeah, I think even with him shooting bad, Rio is still on him. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And then we just talked about this long leaf. Yeah, Tyson's in play tonight. I don't think he's going to bust. Could he bust? Absolutely. But, minimal interest, I think, from both Rio and myself on that one. Excellent stuff there. We're moving right along. This is the last game on the slate. I heard you mention AD a minute ago, which was kind of scary to hear. I saw a rumor today, Rio, and I don't know if it's true or not, so I need to validate it. But Klay Thompson, Megan Thee Stallion, they're on thin ice. So we'll see if that ups his game. We'll see if that's even true. But we're here to talk basketball. We got the Brooklyn Nets. Never Brooklyn Nets ever in your life unless it's Michael Porter Jr. or Nick Claxton or somebody that's going to put up a 50-piece on you. But going into the Big D, taking on the other Nimhard, Ryan Nimhard, Cooper Flagg. PJ, talk to me about this game. Low total, another low total, 7.5 point spread. I think that's been the theme of the night. But Nets at Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you bested me in the pop culture knowledge because I didn't even know about that. So thank you for informing me on the relationship between those two people. Yeah, you pretty much said it. Like, I don't really know if it's even worth breaking down the matchup stuff for anybody other than MPJ and Nick Claxton. These two guys are basically doing everything for Brooklyn on offense. MPJ has kind of put all the rumors to rest that he can't function out as like a number one option without Jokic, and he's done great this season in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's playing a lot better. I think that they do have a really solid defensive scheme, but what they do well is like stopping the pick and roll. They're still a pretty bad transition team, still below average rim defense, and you don't really have to worry about any sort of like high volume pick and roll score on Dallas tonight. So I feel like what they do well can kind of be negated in this matchup defensively. But I do like MPJ at 8.3K, totally fine price tag for a guy that has had really high volume scoring and high efficiency shooting, top 56 DK points in 3 straight games. Gets a little bit of a tougher matchup than the ones he has seen as of late over those 3 games. He was playing New Orleans, Chicago, and Charlotte, 3 pretty bad defenses. I don't think Dallas is great, but they do have PJ Washington, who I would say is an above average wing defender. So slightly negative for MPJ, but if you're playing somebody on Brooklyn, I think MPJ is a clear option. And then Claxton would be next, but he does have to guard Anthony Davis tonight, which brings a little bit of foul risk. But I like what I've seen from him coming off of his second triple-double this season. Last game, I think the offense looks a lot better when it runs through him more so than some of these other guys. So I think he's fine, but probably not a top 4 or 5 center option on this slate tonight. And then Dallas, it's pretty much I'm not going to say AD or bust. I do think that there are some guys that can reach value. But AD is the clear number one option, 9.5K. Usage has been really strong for him, returning from the injury. Has had 5 days off in between games, so should be closer to full, if anything, tonight. And I like attacking Nick Claxton. I don't think that he's a great rim protector, slightly undersized for defending a guy like Anthony Davis. So I'm expecting a pretty big game out of AD tonight. 9.5K power forward eligibility, really good there. So I like AD a ton. I think Cooper Flag playing a lot better alongside of a true point guard, but 7K, a little bit tougher price tag for him to pay off. I don't mind PJ because he is mainly like a catch and shoot guy that like kind of a 3-and-D wing, but he's spiked for some steals games as of late. The Nets are they're bottom 3 in turnover percentage this season, so there's a little bit of upside for him there to maybe get like 3 or 4 steals, hit a couple of 3-pointers. I think that he could pay off his price tag at 6.8K. Then Najee Marshall should be in the starting lineup again, I would imagine. He's kind of always okay when he's starting, can hit for some big games. I would love to get to one of Nembhard or Brandon Williams if I knew which one was going to be the guy that's getting more minutes. We saw 2 huge games from Ryan Nembhard, and then he kind of went back to playing low 30s minutes. Yeah, I don't know. If I knew that he was playing 30, I'd have interest in him, but I'm just not too sure that's going to be the case. The minutes have kind of trended in Brandon Williams' favor as they went for a little bit more offense over defense. So I would be max one of those 2 guys if you're considering them, but not really confident in either one running away with the minutes. So AD, the main priority in this game, MPJ Claxton on the net side, and then I think PJ and Flag are fine.
What about if D'Angelo Russell misses? It's not going to mean much other than, take his 15 minutes. Like, do you think Williams or Nembhard gets those? Do they split them? Does that do anything to those guys, to divvy up D'Lo's minutes at all?
I don't really know if he's really been in the rotation much as of late. I feel like he's been playing low teens. I guess that would kind of – they might bring somebody else in, like a Hardy, or maybe they'll just go to like Christie or Clay. I feel like there has been very little overlap from Brandon Williams and Ryan Nembhard. If you want to talk about that for a little bit, I can stall and kind of pull up Popcorn Machine and see if there's been any.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, he's been playing right around, literally in the teens, 13 to 18 minutes the last several games there. I would just assume that those minutes got to go somewhere. Yeah, you said Christie. I mean, so Christie has been playing low 20 minutes. Williams and Russell around the same price at 4K. So, I mean, something to think about. Like if you want a cheap guard, I don't know if we're going to need it tonight, but that's kind of my take. I don't know what you found. If you found anything yet, if so, let us know. I'm getting a lot of flack in the chat, Rio. They said you're here to talk ball, not Barbie. So I won't bring up any more pop culture. We'll keep it strictly business because that's all Rio is. He doesn't have time to look up Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion, on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much no overlap between Brandon Williams and Ryan Nembhard over the last 2 games. The minutes from D'Lo came from one first half rotation in the game against OKC. They got blown out there. Obviously, every team does against OKC, but then he played the last 8 or so minutes in blowout. So that's kind of, and the same thing, not the same thing in the game against Houston, but he did play about a 4 minute stint at the very end while neither Brandon Williams or Nembhard were on the court. So he's just I think he's kind of dead now. I don't think his injury really does much.
Got it. Excellent stuff there. That's all 6 games. We appreciate you certainly tuning in. If you aren't a member over at the Nation, head on over there. You'll get the T-Wolves. You'll get the Warriors. My guy, BG Littleneck, breaking it all down on the showdown slate tonight. No Ant tonight, so it should be exciting stuff over there. All right, my favorite portion of the show, Rio. You can't beat Evan Mobley. Let's say under 8K. Who's the biggest point getter tonight under 8K? 8K and under, we'll say that.
Well, let me do that. Let's do 7K and under because I feel like there's 2 guys that are clear options in that 7K to 8K range, like Bridges.
7K and under.
Yeah, Bridges and Embiid are the guys in the upper 7K and above, but 7K and below, I'm going to go with my guy, Andrew Nembhard, against Philly. I think it's a really good spot for him to put up a solid stat line. I think he's going to be scoring the ball at will against a team that struggles to defend pick and roll with a cement feet Joel Embiid out there. So I'm liking Andrew Nembhard.
I like that call right there. Last one. This is more for me. Give me your top. This isn't a gambling show, but give me your top wager on the slate tonight.
Oh, you already know I was going to text you on the side. I got 3 lined up already.
Just give me the best one. Now, so the people can get it. We can all go make some money tonight.
Okay. The best one is going to be Lauri Markkanen over 2.5 threes.
Lauri Markkanen, the sharpshooter in Memphis, over 2.5 threes. That'll do it for us. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll have the showdown tonight. I'll be doing a slate plan all weekend. Then we are back on Tuesday with another show with my guy Rio and Title on Tuesday. Appreciate all you tuning in. Have a good weekend. Stay out of trouble and don't do things that people up in the north do. Have a great weekend. Until next time, let's ship it.